Thank you.
Sweet. Christy, John, I think good on my side. So happy to, I'll let you guys kind of kick things off and do a little intro, unless we want to give folks a couple more minutes on. Just let me know what's best.
Dana, are you guys?
Let's give just a couple more minutes. Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome, welcome. And I know after this presentation, Lisa has a few things to say. So hello. I feel like y'all watch Hall with Minnie Pearl?
I love you, Meg. It's great.
I need a tag hanging off of my hat. So welcome, everybody. Thank you guys so much. This is just not a full-blown sales meeting because we had the agent appreciation party last week at the Powers Ferry office, which was fabulous. So it was great to see everybody. Thank you so much. We have, you guys, this market is still crazy. It seems to have calmed down just a little bit, but it is still crazy. And the issue that we're having is with our buyers are still, there's more buyers than there is inventory. And our poor FHA and VA buyers are just really in a conundrum as to what to do, how to get deals through. The sellers are taking cash, there's investors, there's all this kind of crazy stuff. I will actually, there was a Facebook post I read last night. I need to share it on Rockstars. It was about an older gentleman who wasn't driving anymore, and his daughter took him to the bank. And every time he went to the bank, he had to do some deposits or something. It took him like a couple hours at the bank interacting, and his daughter's like, Dad, I can hook you up online. You can do banking through the computer. You can do banking through the phone. And you won't have to do this. You won't have to go to the bank. You won't have to sit there for forever. She goes, I can even get groceries delivered to your house. I can get, shopping, everything delivered to your house. And he goes, well, I never have to go out. And she goes, yeah, that's the point. He goes, honey, what you don't understand is I like dealing with people. My life is all about relationships. As a matter of fact, when your mother passed away, the person that I've dealt with for 20 years at the grocery sent over a bag of groceries. The person at the bank, my personal banker at the bank, came over and asked if I needed anything. The person at the dry cleaners sent a card and sent something over and sent somebody over to pick up if I needed any cleaning. He goes, honey, what you don't understand is this electronic world, you are missing so much. So I thought I think I will. I'll find it. I'll post it on Rockstars. It was really a poignant post. And how that relates to real estate is this is still a relationship business. When you look at the money part of it, there are a lot of sellers that have to get out taking these hedge fund investor deals, so forth and so on. But there is still people dealing with people. Buying and selling a house is very emotional. This is your home. This is where you raised your family. This is where you went to school and you met the person that you married in that neighborhood. People, and it's a big investment, so people still like dealing with people. So don't let any of that, stop watching the news. Stop watching the bad news about real estate. Stop watching the bad news about everything. It'll put you in a bad mood. But bottom line is, for our buyers getting FHA and VA loans, they are sort of floundering right now. It's not that there's no FHA or VA buyer. We see contracts all the time, and it's the FHA and VA loans. But this is an option. The Ribbon program is a tool in your quiver of arrows, in your arsenal, in your toolkit to help an FHA and VA buyer get their deal through. And there's a lot of confusion. Ribbon has other programs too, if they have a house to sell, so forth and so on. But there's a lot of confusion as to how it works with a buyer getting an FHA loan. Do you still use the FHA loan contingency exhibit, or do you use an all cash exhibit? So I'm hoping that that's how I introduce it. At least he's going to talk about how this works so that you can go market yourself to still be able to help these buyers in this market. I see a head nod, so that's good. All right. So I'm gonna watch too, and there's a lot of help. John and Christina have another program. Are you gonna talk about that other program?
John was gonna talk about the other program. I think he's gonna do a little intro.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
There is another really cool program that Movement Mortgage has, another tool. All this is, you guys, Mark Spain. I guarantee buy your house. You know what he does better than any of y'all do, or not y'all, but generally speaking, he has created a niche to get his foot in the door. He's getting more opportunity than others are, because all y'all can do the same thing. And I've said this over the years. We've got because he doesn't buy it at retail price. He buys it at wholesale price and turns around and sells it at retail price. You guys can make that exact same offer. We've got a ton of agent investors that will be more than happy to go in with you to buy a house for cash. If you're buying it at 60% of retail, turn around and flip it and make money. That's a quick investment. The only thing Mark Spain does better than the majority of agents is he gets his foot in the door. If you guys look on his stats on FMLS, he has a ton of listings. He's not buying every single house. He's got a bunch of expireds. All he does is marketing. So with these tools that you guys have, you guys market them to get opportunity for yourselves and to help others and be a blessing with the real estate license that you have. So, all right, John and Jason, I'm done. Brian, I'm done.
Awesome. Well, everyone, welcome. Thank you for coming. It looks like we've got a really good attendance this morning. We are going to have a really great show here with the information that Ryan's going to bring to us. And we're all about helping you sell more houses and making your life easier. And the market's changing, and it's really important to embrace change and make it part of just our everyday life because nothing ever stays the same. And this concept of making an all-cash offer is just not going to go away. I think the last 3 meetings, I've had the infographic about how millennials are peaking in their home buying purchase in the next 3 or 4 years. So we're just at the start of this. They're the second largest population group in America outside of the baby boomers, which are number 1. And they're almost tied between the two of them. There's only a few million births between the difference that are the difference. So you guys will really benefit from this, and so will your sellers and buyers, because you may get an offer as a listing agent from a couple of different companies, and you're going to need to know, hey, which one is going to be the most agent centric and pro agent to let you as a real estate agent control the transaction, because there are other all cash offer companies that leave no control to the real estate agent. And we handpicked Ribbon because they give the agents the most control of the transaction as a listing agent and as a buyer's agent. And this is really important because the other companies aren't agent centric. They say they are, but when you talk to other agents who have tried them and used them, they can tell you differently. So we are super excited about Ryan coming on here to talk to us about Ribbon. And before I bring him on, I just want to say one thing really quick, since Dana mentioned it, and I can do a little FAQ at the end, but we have a new conventional loan program for commission only buyers who are paid 1099 subcontractor, just like you guys are. So think about you and how you're paid on your commissions. You get all the commission income, and then you pay your own taxes. When you file your taxes, if you file it as a C corporation, which a lot of people do that, or Schedule C, pardon me, I didn't mean C corporation, but a Schedule C, which that's where you just itemize all of your deductions, you qualify for this program, and so do your buyers. And what we do is we do not count any of your write-offs against you. So we use the full gross commission income, which that's really, really big, because as you guys know, your tax accountants are all wanting to help you pay the least amount of taxes. So all the gas, mileage, office expenses, all those things count against your income with other loans, but they do not count against your loan on this one. So for example, if you made $100,000 in GCI, then that's what we're going to count as your income. not what was left over after you wrote all of your expenses off. So I want to just highlight that for just a minute. We're using this program. It's a standard loan, so there's nothing extra weird about it other than that we've got a special permission to use the guidelines this way as if it was W-2 income. So just want to put that out there. The rates are the same, down payment money's the same, everything's the same, except we can count your full gross commission income, and anybody else's that's paid in the same way you are, where they just itemize their expenses on a Schedule C. So with no further ado, I want to welcome Ryan. You guys, this is going to be a wealth of information for all of us. Ryan, we greatly appreciate you coming on and being the subject matter expert on this. We are super excited about Ribbon because you guys are the go-to real estate solution for the all cash offers that give the agents control over the process. So we appreciate your time here, and we're looking forward to you getting us up to speed on it. So with that, please take it away.
Awesome, John. Thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it. And Christina, I appreciate you guys having me on. Nice to meet everybody in the room today and on the call. When I was talking with Christina and John, you know, they were just like, we put our heads together and they're like, we got to be able to solve challenges for the agents, right? And I think a lot of conversations have already happened leading up to kind of my time here, which is we know borrowers are facing challenges in today's market, right? Demand is through the roof, inventory is down. Thus, that creates a challenge for you as the agent. Like, how do we help more clients achieve home ownership? You're going to find today that Ribbon is very much mission, vision aligned with what you wake up and do each and every day, right? Think of Ribbon as John and Christina mentioned it. We are here to empower you, to help you grow your commissions, put food on your table, and help clients achieve the dream of home ownership. And so we're going to walk through today. The agenda that I had for us is I want to give a brief explanation on Ribbon, who we are, why we exist, what we've done to date, and then start to really go under the hood today on where is like the advantages to the Ribbon program for a first-time buyer, right? Conventional FHA VA, and then the move-up buyer, right? The client that you're walking into a listing presentation on, and you know that they're going to hit some snags, right? Selling and buying in today's market is different. It's a challenge, right? We know that properties are selling quick, and if we're not finding the next one, it's keeping folks on the sidelines. So I'm just excited for leaving today's call. My goal, my hopes is that you can identify your client's needs with one of our cash solutions. You've got John, you've got Christina in your back pocket that are also well-versed in our program to help navigate the transaction with your client. Ultimately, to help you have a better buyer's consultation, an improved listing presentation to get folks into the homeownership stage. So please feel free to jot some questions down as we go through it today. I'm going to press through the presentation, and then we're going to open it up for some Q&A. I think that's where we would love to have just some great conversations going back and forth. But the agenda that I have for us is I'm going to walk us through the cash advantage that your buyers will have, as well as your sellers will have. And I think John brought up a really good point. This is a phenomenal tool, right? If you're on the listing side, to actually want to accept and choose a Ribbon cash offer because of our contingencies that we're going to remove and the question marks that we take away from the contract. And then I'm going to walk us through how it works on a timeline from contract to close, right? From you writing your Ribbon cash offer to managing your inspection period or due diligence period, all the way through to closing day. I want to make sure you guys feel good about that experience. And then how to get started, right? If you've got a buyer in your pipeline today, what do we need from that buyer when they're speaking with John and Christina on the loan application? And then how is Ribbon going to look at that movement pre-approval letter and go ahead and grant buying power for your client to be able to look at making a financed offer or a cash offer? So without further ado, let's jump on in. Year to date, guys, just a little fun fact about us. We actually were founded in 2017. Charlotte, North Carolina was our very first launch market. I believe to date, we're over 18,000 agents on our platform. Right. So that's 18,000 agents that have raised their hand and said, hey, I know Ribbon's a tool in my back pocket to help me grow my business, make my clients' life easier, and help clients get into home ownership. Year to date, so this year, we've granted over $2.1 billion in buying power. That's a combination of buyers saying, hey, I need help, right? I've got to upgrade my offer to cash in order to compete. And I love this, the talk track earlier in the meeting, which was, guys, over the last 10 years, over the last decade, we've had more than $1 trillion in housing be bought by institutional investors, right? It's led to some of the supply and demand issues that we have today. So as a company, this program was designed for primary residence buyers right? Not for fix and flip investment type of clients. This is for your local buyers to upgrade them to cash so that they have the same advantages as an institutional investor does. Okay, now I want to define what does a ribbon cash offer mean in the marketplace. So let's say put your buyer's agent cap on for a second. You've got, let's just say a buyer right now that has spoken with Christina and John. They are pre-approved. They are mortgage eligible. Today, they would be making a finance offer, right? Where we got to make sure that, there's going to be an appraisal contingency and there's potentially financial contingencies in that contract. By utilizing the Ribbon Cash program, okay, we're going to be able to together take that buyer and upgrade them to a non-contingent offer, one that removes their appraisal contingency. We offer appraisal protection, and I'll walk us through that here in just a few moments. Financial contingencies are gone, as well as a home sale contingency, if applicable, if the client has a home to sell. Those are the three contingencies that are being removed. Now, the power behind these offers is that we also provide a guaranteed close. Okay, and that is stating that once we're through that Georgia inspection period, so whether you choose to do an inspection period or your due diligence period, literally Ribbon is backing the offer with our cash. And we're stating if John Doe, the borrower, the buyer, cannot get financing on closing day, once we're through that inspection period, Ribbon must buy the house, guaranteed. So for a seller and for a listing agent, it's really attractive to them because they don't have to stress about where's appraisal coming in at. They know Ribbon protects the contract. They don't have to worry about what if a buyer lost a job, right? Like 3 days prior to close, 5 days prior to a close, because this thing is guaranteed to close for all parties once we're through that period of the contract. And that's where we really feel like leaving today's call, you're going to be able to compete against not only financed offers in a much better way, but also cash offers, right? Cash typically has a higher cancellation rate, guys, than even finance offers. At Ribbon, we feel like we can compete with cash because we can't walk, right? 1 day, 3 days prior to close, we fully guarantee it. And so that's a huge benefit for your buyers when differentiating their offer on the property that they've fallen in love with, as well as your sellers, if you're representing a seller on a listing and you're actually receiving a Ribbon cash offer. Every single offer that goes out, guys, you will have access to this screenshot right here. We've got a really nice PDF. It's what we call our kind of seller cover letter, helping explain what this offer means to the listing agent. I highly suggest you guys review it too after today's call. It's great for just some of your talking points and your speaking points to A, your buyers and B, the listing agents. And I'll be sure to circulate that with John and Christina following today's call. So let's play this out in a quick timeline. I want to walk you guys through how each kind of Ribbon solution works, whether it's our Boost product or our Reserve product. And you're going to hear me say that name quite often today. So think about Ribbon Boost. Think first-time buyer, right? FHA, VA, conventional. Think of your first-time buyer in your mind right now. For Reserve, think about the move-up buyer, the client that's maybe selling in Michigan, coming to Atlanta or coming to Georgia and buying their next property. Because there are different types of users that we help today, right? First-time buyers and move-up clients. And there are really two cash products that you're going to have on your tool belt leaving today. And the reason I'm going to show you this timeline is because every single offer you make with Ribbon, it's the same offer. There's just a different outcome that happens on closing day. And that's the true difference between our Boost product and our Reserve product. Think about Boost as you're backing your buyer's contract with our cash, removing those contingencies, but you're giving John and Christina enough time to get their financing on the first closing. Okay. Now think about our Reserve product as actually using our cash to purchase the new home for your client. And then Ribbon would give your client up to 180 days to buy back from Ribbon and buy back for the exact same price that we purchased on their behalf for. That's called Ribbon Reserve, right? We are literally reserving the house for the client, giving them 180 days to buy back and buy back for the exact same price. Our addendum is what is mechanically being attached to your Georgia contract. And that addendum is stating in the event that the buyer can't get financing on closing day, they have the ability to get financing on closing day. And that is via we'll still lean on your Georgia all cash exhibit with the checkbox, I think it's section A, that it still allows the buyer opportunity to get financing, right? But we're not contingent upon it. So that's the difference between our Boost product and Reserve. It's a 1% Ribbon fee if your client can secure their own financing on the first closing, and you backed your offer with Ribbon's cash. You remove the contingencies and you helped your client win the contract. It's 2.4% if Ribbon has to actually buy the home for your client. Okay, we wire in, let's say $350,000. We bought the house. The deed is in Ribbon's name. On this first closing, guys, you're still earning your full buy side commission, whether your buyer buys it or Ribbon buys it. We don't touch a penny or percentage of it. And you're guaranteed your commission once we're through the inspection period, right? Because the contract's guaranteed through the power of a Ribbon offer. So 2.4% for us to buy the house, and then the client will literally roll into a lease agreement. So they have 6 months to buy the house back from Ribbon and buy back for the exact same price that we purchased on their behalf for. Remember, we're not lease to own, we're not rent to own. They will be responsible for a daily rate of rent. It's prorated. We don't want clients to have to rent a house from Ribbon longer than needed. Rather, we see a lot of move-up buyers choose the reserve option because as their agent, you can go find their new house in Georgia, make a cash offer on it, win it. They can move from Michigan into the Georgia property, right? And then they can stage, clean, and sell their Michigan property on the open market for top dollar and for maximum value. That's where we see the difference between reserve and boost being utilized today. So how would you navigate a Ribbon transaction is kind of a question I want to propose to everybody. It's pretty business as usual with one minor step in place with Ribbon in your inspection period. So the one contingency that our offer will have is an inspection contingency. Okay. The primary reason for this is we want to make sure your buyer likes the house. So we do require your buyer have an inspection done. As the agent, you lean on your inspector relationships. We're not telling you guys who to use. Your buyer must get one complete. Ribbon will review the inspection report. So you would get your inspection report, you would send it to the transaction coordinator at Ribbon, helping facilitate the transaction. And then our team would review it and see if there's any structural infestations, mold, safety, hazardous health items, right? We have to have the mindset of if Ribbon has to reserve this house, are there any liability issues on our end? So like every single time, right, we'll probably see smoke detectors, carbon monoxide. We got to know that those are at least working and functioning in the property, because if we own the house, we are then the landlord, right? They're a tenant until they buy back and buy back for the exact same price. So we might come back to you and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, there is 2 Ribbon required repairs. The definition of a Ribbon required repair is that it must be completed, okay, prior to closing day, if and only if Ribbon is reserving the house and we are buying it. If your client is able to get their own financing on this first closing, okay, then we didn't have the liability issue, right? So the client didn't necessarily have to complete the repair item. Rather, in that inspection period, we still would have to have either a seller or a buyer sign off that they would complete the repair if and only if Ribbon had to reserve. So in that period, we'd be looking for you as the agent to either get it negotiated on a repair request agreement, or your buyer would have to sign off that they would complete the repair if Ribbon became the buyer. Because guys, remember, if financing gets delayed, if something happens and maybe the other home didn't sell in time, the client rolls from boost to reserve. Right? So they just transition right over from boost to reserve because of our guarantee to the seller and to the listing agent. Okay, a couple questions I want to sit here for a minute. That way we don't lose our thought would be, if they do not sell their house first and they do the rental with Ribbon, are they paying both rental and their other home mortgage? They will be responsible for a daily rate of rent on the new house while they sell their current one and pay for the mortgage on the existing one. Correct. We do see a lot of clients try and time both sales if that's a really limiting factor, but they will be responsible for that on the front end. How many days before end of due diligence does Ribbon have to get the inspection report to review? We ask for a minimum of 7 days on an inspection period. So we got to have a minimum of 7 days. We're turning around inspection reports within 24 hours of you guys getting it to us. So in a perfect world, we're getting that less than 24 hours before the actual finalizing of the inspection period. Great question. So just to kind of summarize, right, we talked about the definition of a Ribbon cash offer. What's it mean in the marketplace for your buyer? What's it mean for your seller as a listing agent? Then I just walked us through the contract to close, right? Boost versus reserve. So remember, in recap, Ribbon boost, you can see here on my left-hand side of the screen, That's really the arrow you want to pull out when you're working with a client facing multiple offer situations, competing against cash, potentially looking to time to sales, right? This is a great safety net to be able to provide to your contract so that if sales don't line up, we're not out deposits, we're not losing the dream property because Ribbon can just step in and reserve it. And this is also going to help you guys remove those contingencies on the contract to help you in your conversion of making offers to winning contracts. The reserve product, right, in summary, was really the design for the move-up buyer to remove the home sale contingency, allow a client to buy first, then list and sell second. In a perfect world, guys, you earn your full buy side commission. You walk in, list their current house, earning your full listing side commission, and helping that client transition from home A to home B. Right? We see a lot of sellers sitting on the sidelines today because it's the chicken and the egg, right? I would list if I knew where I was going to go. I would list, right, if I didn't have to think about moving twice, paying for temporary housing, getting storage fees. And so now we want you to feel equipped to be able to walk in and have options in your back pocket to be able to help your clients. Last but not least is what we call a ribbon rescue. So let's say John and Christina, inherit a file where you call them and say, hey, this client was approved by XYZ. We're hitting some delays. John and Christina, can you guys take a look at it? They take a look and say, hey, you know what? Yes, we can get them there, but we need XYZ in time frame. Ribbon could step in after the fact and save a transaction. That's a 3% Ribbon fee. So it's definitely more advantageous to originate your offers with Ribbon versus going and getting under contract and then bringing in Ribbon after the fact. So that's our last product on the table. We call that Ribbon Rescue. We have been able to eliminate some the domino effect, right? Where one property is delayed, which causes a whole trickle down effect. All right, so let's start to talk about the 3 steps necessary to getting the offers off the ground, right? If you have a client today in your pipeline, what do we need from you? What would we need from John and Christina in order to give this buyer the ability to make a cash offer? So there's 3 steps involved, okay? Step number 1 is, as the agent in the audience today, you've got to have a Ribbon agent account. It's completely free. This is how you add buyers and upload John and Christina's pre-approval letter, right? So literally as the agent, you can log into your Ribbon portal, add buyer, upload pre-approval letter. That's going to go to a Ribbon's buyer underwriting team. And they're going to look at it and say, okay, John and Christina checked income, assets, and credit. This buyer is pre-approved up to $350,000. We're going to grant that client $350,000 in buying power. That basically means we've taken $350,000 of our money. We've said, okay, John Doe, you get $350,000 to go make a cash offer. The next step piece in the puzzle is that we need to get and obtain Ribbon's valuation on the property they're interested in making an offer on. This is critical. And this is where appraisal protection comes into play. So how this would play out if I'm in your shoes as an agent, right? If I'm booking a showing today in Showing Time, right? Or the platform that you're using to book your showing, I would go ahead and simultaneously log into my Ribbon account, add my buyer, add those 3 properties that I'm showing that client this evening and or tomorrow morning. That way, when I walk out of that showing, I'm well prepared, right? I'm ready to go. I know my client has buying power. I know that Ribbon valuation's back. And literally you can present to your client 2 options: financed offer, the Ribbon cash offer, and how can we make the most winning offer on that specific property. So the definition, guys, of a Ribbon valuation is that we're not just clicking a button and spitting out numbers. I want you guys to know that. Okay, we have a team internally that's looking at that subject property similar to the comparables to give you the most competitive upgrade offer to cash that we can. So if the list price is like $290, we may come back and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, you can make an offer up to $302. We are literally going to appraisal protect your contract from 0 to $302. Who's had and seen an appraisal miss in the last few weeks, right? They're tough. They're tough to negotiate. And a lot of times the buyers in these markets are having to cover the difference. When Ribbon's attached, whether it's boost or reserve, if we told you could go up to 302 and that appraisal comes back at 297, guys, we stroke a check. We literally cover the difference. That $5,000 gap that would have been most likely responsible on your buyer side, Ribbon's covering it. So this is going to give your buyers peace of mind to say, okay, Ribbon's backed it up to X. Let's go ahead and make the offer up to that number, and we will literally appraisal protect it. Now, I get asked a lot, Ryan, what if we wanted to go above the max Ribbon value? You can. That right now cannot exceed more than 5% above our max Ribbon valuation. And I'll play this out for you guys. Let's say we came back and said, hey, Susie, we could go 302 on this specific property, and you and your buyer wanted to offer 305. That's a $3,000 difference, right? From 302 to 305. Your buyer would have to add that $3,000 difference from our value to what you're offering in their earnest money deposits. So that's the process that has to happen when you go above and beyond our ribbon valuation. There are though times, guys, if you see a valuation come back, work with your advisor and say, you know what? Hey, I disagree with this. And here's 3 comps that I think could support a higher value. Our team is open-minded. We want to work closely with you. You're the market experts, right? We empower you as the agent. Send us those comps. We've been able to move on a valuation and increase it based on the information that you're able to provide. There's many times, guys, trust me, we're very active in the Georgia market. We're 10, 12, 15, 18K above list price on our value. There's some times where a property is just being marketed super tough for us to be able to put our necks out on the line with the appraisal protection that we give today. As the agent, you can add multiple properties. We've also equipped John and Christina, right? They can also help get these off the ground. So if you're on the fly, you're in the car, John and Christina, I know, would be more than happy to help the team get that process started in the Ribbon platform. That way, when you come out of a showing, everything is well prepared. You're ready to rock and roll and write your offer, which is the 3rd and final step. And this is where our team is going to walk you through about 11 steps and 11 questions on how much do you want to offer? How much do you want in deposits? When's your inspection period end? When's your closing date? And we have some tips and tricks along the way that make sure that you're falling within the program parameters, such as we need a minimum of 7 days on the inspection period. We need a minimum of 14 business days, right, on our closing date. Those are some of the requirements to our program and the offer that you're making with us. That is how you actually get access to the addendum, the proof of funds, and our cover letter, which we can send you all samples of that so you can see it before you actually are writing your offer. And that's what's going to be included when you send it to the listing agent and to the seller. So Brenda asked a really good question here. We have to register the buyer with Ribbon prior to looking, and then they can decide to use it. I would recommend that you add them earlier on in the process, and then it's their choice to use it, versus if you don't add them early, you don't add the property, and you come out of a showing at 6:30 at night, right? And nothing's been added to the system. That's going to be tough for our team to be able to get you what you need to write your offer. So that's why I always recommend you're not locked into having to use the program. You can add a buyer, get 3 valuations back, get buying power set, and choose not to make an offer on that property. That's okay. That's what we do. So I hope, Brenda, let me know if that doesn't help clarify that question. Okay, so let's get into a little bit about how that fee is paid, right? So we might be thinking in the room, how does that 1 or 2.4% actually get paid? And what's the talking points to my buyer when utilizing the program? So let's jump into it. Remember, boost is 1%. Reserve is meaning Ribbon buys the house is 2.4%. Why is it 2.4%, Ribbon? Well, remember, guys, we cover the first set of closing costs. So we're not earning full 2.4%. We are covering the buyer's customary closing costs on it. Your buyer's never paying 2 sets of closing costs with this program. Now, if you are familiar with the Ribbon program, you'll know that every time you go to write your offer, we have to know where the 2.4% Ribbon fee is coming from when you're making the offer. That fee is negotiable between a seller and a buyer. I think we can all agree right now, we probably aren't asking for seller paid closing costs in today's market, right? Or at least not majority of the time. And so if a seller's not willing to cover anything in seller paid closing costs towards the Ribbon fee, then the buyer is ultimately responsible for it. So at a $200,000 offer, what's 2.4%? $4,800, okay? The deposit pool of money must equal $4,800 when you're writing the offer. If the offer gets accepted, that $4,800 is going to the attorney and or title company, right, to be held in escrow, business as usual. How we actually collect our fee is on closing day off the closing statement. So if your buyer had 2.4% in deposits on closing day, if they can show up with John and Christina's financing, right? It's the boost product. You backed your offer with our cash. The fee is always reduced to 1%. And on that settlement statement, there would be a 1% debit, okay, from buyer to Ribbon towards our Ribbon fee for appraisal, protecting, and upgrading to cash. And then there would be a 1.4% credit, right, towards the buyer's cash to close. So that money comes back to them towards cash to close, the 1.4%. the 1% is applied towards our cost of business. That's the boost product and how it plays out on closing day. If it's reserve, remember, John and Christina are on pause because the client's having Ribbon reserve it until they can buy back with John and Christina. So then we would literally wire $200,000 to the table. We bought the house, 2.4% would come to Ribbon. Your client could then move into the property, and that's when they can have the 180 days to buy back and buy back for the exact same price. Right now, guys, the move up buyer on average is about 57 days on a holding period. And so this is not a, hey, you're going to have to wait 180 days, right? We want to make sure they can sell that house and buy this one back from us, and as quickly as possible. So let's talk last but not least before we jump into Q&A here on the appraisal protection. Okay. So you heard me kind of drop this in over the course of the last few minutes, quite a bit. I want to make sure we all feel really clear on how this works. Okay. Let's say you add a property today into the system for a Ribbon value and its list price is 190. Ribbon comes back to you this afternoon and says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, you can cash back your offer with Ribbon up to $200,000. Now you win the contract at 200 and the appraisal's ordered. The appraisal comes back at 195. It's a $5,000 difference, right? We cut the check, we cover the difference. If it's the boost product, which means John and Christina are getting financing for this client on the first closing, Ribbon's not reserving it. How that actually plays out is we have to have an amendment to the contract price, okay, to 195. Ribbon then sends an additional addendum to the seller so that they know they're going to still receive a $5,000 credit from Ribbon to seller. It never touches buyer. The buyer essentially buys at 195, the appraised value, but the seller still essentially sold at 200,000. So we stroked the check, we covered the difference. That's how it plays out for the boost product. If it's reserve, then typically the appraisal is not being ordered on the front end, right? Because financing is not being secured. So we buy the house, typically no appraisal happens. And then let's say 18 days later, your client sells their other house in South Georgia. They're ready to buy back now. In North Georgia, okay, great. John and Christina would then order the appraisal. If it came low downstream, okay, and Ribbon said you could go up to 200, it came back at 195. As the seller now, we simply just reduce the sales price to 195 because we are the seller. Okay, does that make sense on the difference between boost and reserve and how appraisal protection applies? Okay, now let's recap with eligibility and some of the parameters around this program. Okay, we can help you from 150 to 700,000. That's contract price. Okay, not loan amount. 150 to 700K. The property does need to be under 4 acres of land. Okay, it can't be a short sale, a foreclosure, mobile manufactured properties. Unfortunately, those don't qualify for the program. Things that we need you to be checking on as the agent. Number one is the CC&Rs, covenant codes and restrictions, right? We got to be looking out for if Ribbon has to buy the house, they are entering a standard Georgia lease agreement with Ribbon. So would there be any leasing restrictions in that specific community? We currently don't accommodate leasebacks or temporary occupancy. If we are the ones reserving the home, I would work closely with your dedicated Ribbon advisor, which you're going to get when you sign up today. Everyone will have someone similar to myself in your back pocket to be able to talk through your Ribbon solutions, right? And or how our program works. So don't feel like leaving today, it's all on your shoulders to know this. Our team is going to help coach you through this process. And it does need to be the buyer's primary residence. This is a quick screenshot of what you're going to see when you go into your dashboard. Okay, so in the upper right-hand side of the screen, when I show you guys how to sign up and create your agent account, you can literally hit need help. And this is where you can schedule a call with your Ribbon advisor. You could shoot them a text. You could send them an email. You could get John and Christina to jump on with a 3-way call, right? With the Ribbon advisor, John, yourself, and we can all talk about how this program is going to come together for that specific client. You've got folks on our side to also help with that, right? Yes, we are a technology company, but yes, we are very much relationship based and we'll be there for you guys to support your conversations. Cool. So I want to pause. If you'll take a moment to pull out your phone. Okay. So if you pull out your phone, this is how you're going to get access to the documents we spoke today. The Ribbon addendum, the proof of funds, how to add buyers, how to upload pre-approval letters, and basically present this as an option to your client. If you text the number 704-285-1024, If you text the code 824A, it's going to text you back a link. And that link is specific to today's training to be able to sign up, get access to your Ribbon Advisor, and add buyers and add properties. Please let me know if anyone has any issues getting that text back when you send the code 824A. For those that are potentially on the Zoom, I will throw it in the chat as well in order to create your account. What's great about this is we've got John and Christina already onboarded on the lending side, so they'll have access to their loan officer dashboard. That way, as you guys and as we together are all working on a buyer, everyone will have access to what the valuation came back at, what the monthly or daily rate of rent came back at, right? Because we give you guys that every single time a valuation comes back. It's very full and transparent to all parties. And then everyone's in the loop of where we are at on that specific client. When you upload, okay, the pre-approval letter, that's when we can tie everybody together. John, Christina, yourself as the agent, your buyer can log in underneath you. And remember, guys, if you send a client to like ribbonhome.com, they cannot sign up without you, right? So they have to be brought by you as the agent to the platform. We go through you, right? We're not direct to consumer on it. And so your clients will then be able to log in when you send them the invitation. And they're not locked into having to use the program when looking and adding different deal situations. All right, it's 10:48. So please let me know if anyone had trouble getting that text back. John, Christina, and folks in the room, I wanted to make sure we open it up for some Q&A on where I can help answer some questions.
Ryan, I think there might be one more question in the chat from Amanda Shea Ammons.
So there's two. Yeah, there's two
two.
more in the
Okay.
chat. And then I've got some here that I'll repeat to you since we don't have the
Okay.
audio.
Right. So I want to, let's see here. I think I answered Brenda's. Let me know, Brenda, if that did not help answer. I see one from Amanda. So the buyer needs a substantial amount of cash to close with the backing of Ribbon's percentage plus the letter's percentage of closing. So I want you guys to differentiate like typical loan origination and title closing costs, right? And then there's either a 1% or 2.4% fee depending upon the cash product that they're using. With this program, for Ribbon, for example, right? John and Christina, feel free to answer the closing costs on y'all side, but we require that 2.4% be in earnest money if the seller's not agreeing to any in seller paid closing costs. That fee is reduced to only 1% if the client can get their own financing on closing day. So that 1.4% would go towards their cash to close. The 1% though would be a fee from buyer to Ribbon in order to upgrade to cash. Let me know, Amanda, if that's not helping answer. I want to make sure we get that for you.
So Ryan, if I could just maybe boil it down, if somebody uses the Boost program, they're just looking at an extra 1% cash to close on top of whatever their normal amount would be, assuming appraisal came in, or even if it didn't come in, if it came in within your appraisal gap tolerance, we'll call it, they're just looking at an extra 1% of the purchase price as their cash to close to do your program. Is that a fair statement?
Spot on. Exactly, John.
Okay, perfect. So Amanda, I don't know if that helps you a little bit, but I think like there can seem to be a lot of moving parts. And when you're looking at all the different programs that are out there, there's a lot of noise, and being able to make it really simple is the key to being successful with this program. And telling your buyer, hey, if we get you started on this program, it's going to cost you an extra 1%. And I can have that conversation, and so can Christina, with the buyer about, hey, this is what you need to be prepared for your down payment money, and this is what you need to be prepared for your cash to close for the closing costs, because we already do that. And if you're planning on trying Ribbon, this will be one other thing that we'll add into it. And let's face it, most buyers in today's market know they have to have some money, but they're not, that extra 1% is going to keep them from getting into a bidding war, or maybe losing their dream home, or having to do a double move, or God forbid, move in with their parents. We've had people do all of those. So 1% can be a real big lifesaver if you start out with it. So just wanted to see if that helped in case anybody else had a similar type of question, like, hey, what's the true bottom line cost? Yep. It's 1%. The other really big advantage is you get to work with us on the mortgage instead of having some other lender doing your buyer's loan and not communicating and not doing things in a timely manner, because all of the other companies, which we won't name them, but they're all on your Facebooks because you're all in real estate and they're pounding me too. They want to do the loan and they want to do it their way and in their time and use their attorney and use all of the people that they've built on their team, which are none of the people that are on your team. And essentially that leaves you powerless in the transaction. And we are all about empowering agents to stay current with the market and take advantage of this phenomenal program and still be able to drive the transaction the way you want to.
I know we've got a couple more questions in the chat there, and I've got a couple more questions here in person here in the Woodstock office. So do you want to do the chat questions and then we can take some questions here?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's
Okay.
roll. Yep. So Christy says, what kind of inspection callouts do you get? How do repairs work? Christy, we call those ribbon required repairs. You know, I'll give you a couple examples. Smoke detectors, carbon monoxide. If windows are not opening in the master bedroom, right, upstairs, that's an issue if we have a fire, right? And if Ribbon owns the property. So something like that most likely would come out. If there's some type of note on the inspection report around like structural issues, like mold, right? Those are things that we'd have to learn more about. We're not just gonna like walk from the property. Rather, we're gonna say either we need that fixed or we have to understand what the safety concern is that. Like, is there a remediation we can do to get that figured out? So we would work closely with you on that if it's like a safety or a health item. You know, we also look from the lens of like FHA and VA, right? So if we have loose handrails in the front or in the back, most likely those come up every single time, right? Even from like the lender side of it. So we would typically call something like that out as well, but really not nitpicking the property apart, rather looking for more safety or health items. And then Brenda asked, how do you determine the rental amount? Great question, Brenda. So that is determined based on the taxes, the insurance, HOA fees, if applicable, and our cost of capital. That's like how we formulate our rent. That is typically around 70 to 75 basis points. So of the contract price. So right now, if you take out your calculator, right, $200,000 house times 0.0070, on average, you would see a monthly rate of rent come back on that property at 200K around $1,400. Divide that by 30 days in the month. It would be about $47 on a daily rate of rent if Ribbon had to reserve it. Remember, rent doesn't apply if it's boost. However, it's only for reserve. It's prorated. So if they pay a full month's rent, but they can buy back day 15, they get 15 days of rent back. We don't want clients to have to rent longer than needed. Can VA buyers utilize the program? Yes, this is a phenomenal opportunity to help a veteran get into homeownership. And we have some really, really awesome stories winning in 17, 18, 19 offer situations where the listing agent and the seller are choosing a Ribbon offer because of the appraisal guarantee and the closing guarantee that we provide. So a great opportunity to help your clients who I'm sure have been bidding and having trouble winning contracts. Okay, Christy, that's what I see in the chat.
Okay, let me see what we got here. Any questions? Do you guys have any questions here? You have a question? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I have a couple questions, but go one at a time. How often is Ribbon seeing their appraisals come in low from their guarantee offer?
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. It's a great question. We've definitely seen it. We've protected some buyers in some tremendous ways. Like we've cut in some pretty nice size checks. It's a win-loss ratio for us, right? We understand that there are going to be many times where things come back lower and we have to cover the difference. For us, it's really scale, right? And helping more clients allows us to offer that type of product. So yeah, I mean, feel free to like check out groups of agents will tell you we cut checks, right? We can't run from it. Legally, we're still bound to purchase the property after the inspection period. And we've protected many clients on it, but obviously we have to make sure we're protecting ourselves as well. But yeah.
Do you have a percentage for Georgia of like kind of what you're seeing is happening or a pulse on the market in Georgia?
I don't know that off the top. Yeah. I don't know if we track that internally on like what percent is actually missed. I don't have that at this time.
But if I can interrupt, I think what you're saying is that like they'll know as an agent what you're going to go up to potentially, because they'll upload those properties and you say you get that appraisal like guarantee back within about 24 hours. Is that what it is? So they'll know, then that way they can kind of know like what if they need to provide comps or try to go up from there, correct?
You got it. You nailed it,
Pretty
Chris.
quick.
Exactly. Yep. It's happening within 24 hours.
Okay.
Agents will also, when you add the property in the product, we'll also ask you if there's an offer deadline. So if you need it back sooner than 24, let us know and we can get it done. We have many times within 1 to 3 hours, but we have to know that. And the first thing we're going to ask is, have you uploaded John or Christina's pre-approval letter, right? Like we got to get the buyer buying power if we're going to prioritize your valuation to the top of the stack. That's why I always coach and suggest get the buyers in, get buying power set. That way, when the property comes on and it's highest and best, we can hit it.
Okay. Did you have another question?
I did.
Yeah.
What is the percentage of ribbon offers accepted? So, I mean, we're going out there. How often can we expect it to get a good result?
Yeah, great question. So, for us, remember, we come back with evaluation, but we don't tell buyers and agents like where to offer, right? So for us, it's, we have some clients that are in the 65, 70% range, right? We have some agents where depending upon price point, location can be like a variance. So, we don't really look at it as like a high level number of our acceptance rate. Rather, we look in like areas of agent success, right? I would hope we're in the 60 to 70% range. If we're not, I think it's a conversation around what's causing us to miss, right? Is it value, price? Is it deposits? Is it closing dates? There's a lot of variables at play that I think could play into that offer acceptance rate, but that's a number that I think would be a really good measure of success.
So a follow-up question to that. I'm sorry, y'all.
You're good.
So on the appraisal, that the valuation that Ribbon gives back, okay? The buyer can go above that, but they're bringing that money as earnest money. So for instance, what we're seeing a lot of right now, I would say in this area, consistently a 3% to 4% over list, unless an agent's gone cuckoo. It's usually 3 to 4% over list.
Yep.
So they have to add that 3% to their earnest money, if I understood you correctly, for their appraisal gap over your value. So going back to your $195,000 number, you said the value was 205 or something like that. If we go above that, they're going to have to add that to their earnest money. Is that a correct statement?
If you go above it, correct. Like in this example, can you still see my screen? It was, the list price was 190. We came back at 200,000. If the client wanted to offer 205, that additional 5K would have to go into earnest money deposits. And that was essentially, in summary, we offered 15K over list price in that example.
So in that scenario, okay, what we've also been seeing is, and I've been very fortunate lately, my appraisals are coming in, even with on my listings, even with these crazy appraisal gaps. So
Yep.
I had just one that's closing tomorrow that's $45,000 over list.
Mm-hmm.
So on that scenario, and if you were guaranteeing the 200,000,
Yep.
I'm making an offer for 205, make up numbers.
Yep.
So they're adding that $5,000 to their earnest money. But there's a lizard.
Yeah,
The appraisal comes back at 205. They are going to get their full $5,000 back at closing, correct? As a credit towards their cost.
Exactly. You nailed it. Exactly.
All right, good. All right, one more question. How many properties in Georgia has Ribbon closed? Do you have a number?
I know year to date, we just hit over 1,000 transactions in Georgia. I would assume we're probably about 50% in Georgia to like North Carolina currently today. So I would assume just off the top, we're plus over 500 transactions in Georgia, which is really exciting for us. Charlotte was our first launch market, and then it was straight into Georgia, which Georgia is now pretty much outpacing our very first launch market. So internally, we're kind of talking about how much of a need it is in the Atlanta market. And I suspect that to continue to drive just because of the challenges buyers are facing right now in your market.
Thank you for answering my questions. Sorry, you guys.
Anybody else have questions? Do you have a
All
question?
great,
Yeah.
all great ones.
You have another question here. Yep.
It says you have to be like a real estate broker. Do you have to be a broker or a salesperson? And it also says you have to be a realtor and a member of a trade association.
Just need to be a licensed real estate professional in order to write an offer and utilize our product.
Okay. And do you have to, is that earnest money over and above like the normal 1% earnest money they usually give? Or would it just be?
Yeah, so don't think of the 2.4% and then you have to have another 1%, right? That's in combination. That's in total. Yeah, so if today you're making, well, I guess my question back is, what are you currently seeing today? What's necessary in deposits to compete? Are you guys within like 1 to 2%, 2 to 3%? What are typically buyers putting down today in deposits?
1 to 2.
1 to 2. So for us, it would be, it needs to just be a total of 2.4%. So it may be a slightly more than what you're customary to doing today, but still probably within range. It's not 2.4% plus EMD, as long as in total it equals that.
Any other questions?
I've got one.
Yeah.
Devil's advocate. What is totally not a good scenario for, what won't work for them?
What
As
won't
far
work?
as- Yeah, what's a customer that you're like, no. this
Will
is
not work for Ribbon?
Yeah, that you're just like, don't even try. Is there a scenario where you're like, don't come to us, this is not gonna work, this is, you know.
We're saying, is there somebody who won't fit
Maybe
inside this
fix-
box?
Maybe if they had a fixer upper, maybe they had, like you said, the inspection's important because they're gonna actually buy it. There's, you know, they will have ownership.
Like if the
of it.
house is in pretty good disrepair, like maybe it's missing
Right, right,
appliances, or
right.
it's like the floor is ripped up, windows
Right.
won't open, paint's peeling, you're saying that
Yeah,
kind of thing, like,
it
what
sounds
is
like there's
their-
some that are.
you want to know who
probably-
can't, yeah, but,
Right,
yeah.
who is not a good client for this?
Yeah, I can take that. And then Christy or John, feel free to jump in. On my side, I would say, let's look at the buyer first. You know, look, if they have to do a repair on credit, right, from where they are today to where they want to go, that wouldn't be a good fit for it. If your client has a home to sell that's, you know, more than like 90 days on market, we're going to look at that on our side too. We want to set buyers up for success. If that home to sell we feel like is going to be more than 90 days, then we'll say, hey, you don't simply qualify for the program, right? This is to not, we want buyers to be able to buy back properties from Ribbon. We lose money if they don't. So we protect that on our side. I would say property condition, you know, we can get into a lot of different variables. It just depends. If it's like missing appliances, if it's a total gut, if the kitchen's not in good standing, like those types of properties are going to cause issues, right? We most likely though would just say, hey, this is not a good fit for us. After reviewing like the description and the property photos, we'd probably pass it and say, hey, we have to pass on that specific home. So those types of homes can give us some trouble. Yeah, and then things that are outside that buy box. I know we have under the hood about potentially going higher than 700K, but today that's currently where we are at on it. But it's for us, we look through, we want to make sure we're setting buyers up for success. So let's get them in a mortgage eligible state. I think that's why John and Christina, you know, your team are so important here to make sure that these clients can get financing on time, take advantage of the 1%, not have to roll into the 2.4% and still achieve homeownership.
And I think, John, you can speak to that. That's where we're coming in, and what our team does is we're doing such a great job of pre-approving these buyers so they don't get to that point where there is a buyback, unless there is a house to sell where you've got that issue. But it's like you're basically, you know, being able to use Ribbon as cash, and then our goal is to offer the financing. Do you want to speak to that, John?
Yeah, for sure. And it's essentially business as usual for us as the lender and you guys as the realtor, because you're going to be the eyes and ears of how fast this house can sell, that they're, you know, trying to sell and do their back-to-back close on. We're going to be the eyes and ears of how good of a quality of a loan is this, because this is not let's rescue somebody that can't get a mortgage now and can't sell their house now because of some inherent problem on either one of those fronts. This is somebody that's just only encumbered by a good house that they don't want to have to become homeless in order to buy their next one. That's really who this program is custom tailored for, or to somebody who's constantly being outbid and they don't have to sell a house, but they can't do all cash. So this is not a rehab loan for a bad house or a rehab loan for a bad credit borrower. It's to give somebody that extra boost. And that's why I love the name, because it's to really boost them over the finish line. You know, they don't want to be the bridesmaid over and over again. You know, they don't want to be at the 1 yard line and, you know, have to, you know, punt. Nobody punts on the 1 yard line. But anyway, you know, it's that again. So it's really about helping them go ahead and be the winning bidder is really what it is. And, you know, for us as the lender, we're going to upfront underwrite them to make sure that they truly qualify and that they have everything that they need for Ribbon to be able to just, you know, offer the insurance, in other words. And that's really what our goal is to save the buyer, you know, the other, you know, further levels of protection that Ribbon does offer, and get them ready so that they can truly do it for only 1%. And most people in this market have been saving their money, or their investments have done really well, that they're able to come up with the money that they need to. They just are scared of not having a financing contingency, or scared of not having an inspection contingency, or no appraisal contingency. And this lets them still have those protections. And that's why we're so excited about this program for the agents, because it lets you do your job of protecting the buyer without giving up the things that you know are very important to just, you know, not only your reputation, but also making the buyer be protected. And that's why those things are in the GAR contract, because, you know, they've found to be important and needed, but still be the same thing as an all cash buyer to the seller. And that's really what they care about is, hey, my house is in good shape. I know I've done good on it. I just don't want to be hung out to dry by a lender who's not going to do their job, or a buyer who's not managing their money properly during the house closing process.
And for FHA, if the seller is willing to take an FHA loan, and the reason that they may not be is because of the FHA appraisal with any appraisal mandated repair issues, and with the appraisal value sticking on the house. But if a seller is willing to take FHA, one of the things that Ribbon can do is it's the cash backup. So the buyer still has the option of going FHA, but if the FHA underwriting procedure, processes, overlays, whatever doesn't get approved, the seller can still be more readily assured of going to a closing because there's the cash backup of it. That's how we're seeing it used more right now. We are seeing it used for the seller lease contingency, but we're seeing it very effectively used here for our FHA buyers who they're not getting a house without some sort of guarantee to that seller that it's going to close. Like I said, you still have to, and the house has to be in reasonably good repair. If it's a house that needs a lot of repairs, they're not going to take an FHA loan anyway. But if the seller is reasonably, and you guys will know that as you do your walkthroughs, you show the house. If it's not going to be an issue with repairs with FHA, this is if the buyer is willing to pay that 1% to be able to get the house. This is a great selling point to a seller to get your FHA buyer approved. And chances are with John and Christina, they're still going to go FHA. They're just paying that extra percent for the assurance for them as the buyer and the seller. That's really where we're seeing it. Really the only way we're getting FHA buyers approved right now, or in contracts.
Yeah, and as far as our team, I mean, we just don't have fallout on our loans. We don't have loans denied. It just doesn't happen because we do so much up front that we're putting them through all the paces that we just literally don't get to that point. You know, we're having those conversations. We send them the emails, don't do this, don't do that. You know, we're having those conversations constantly so that I'm telling you, like, and on our team, our company pre-approves all our buyers, like literally puts them in underwriting because our follow-through rate is so high. Like when our underwriters write a loan, we have assigned underwriters, they know that our agent is going to deliver on that contract eventually. So they know. So we've got that literally, we put them through underwriting before, like our assigned underwriter, Elaine, just underwrites. It goes right to her and she underwrites all of our loans
Yep.
before they even write a contract. So you have that assurance going into that as well as that cash offer program. And there was, I think there were some more questions in the chat down there too.
We take a look here. So from Amanda, can VA buyers use this? Yes. Let me know if there's any questions on that. We definitely can. If an FHA or if a VA or FHA buyer has to do a rental, is there a 90-day waiting period to buy back? So yes, for FHA right now, there is an identities of interest rule that has been called out via the FHA guidelines. So if they had to go reserve with the product today, we give the FHA buyer up to 210 days to buy back because they will have to wait a minimum of 180 if financing cannot be secured on the front end. That is because we are the landlord, they are a tenant. There's a tenant landlord relationship that has been called out. So we do want to make sure we would set good expectations on that. And I know John, Christina and I, we're working with VA with Movement as well on FHA and really providing a strong approach to how to help them and set good expectations on that. So it is, we just need to make sure we understand that on the front end.
Yeah, if you guys have an FHA buyer, call us first because there are some extra hurdles we have to get through just because FHA looks at that landlord-tenant relationship to where they don't want the landlord to make money other than the rent. And that's to protect the buyer from a landlord jacking a house way up, which Ribbon's not doing, but the law was written for landlords that would say, hey, I'll let you rent my house and you'll buy it from me, but I'm gonna overcharge you for it. And Ribbon's clearly not doing that with the small percentage fees they're doing, but this is a landmark rule that has been on the FHA books for a long time to protect tenants who want to buy the house that they live in. FHA was not foreseeing this happening, but the rules were written back whenever, people would do, hey, I want to do a rent to own type of thing and use my FHA loan. So call us if you have an FHA borrower, because there are some extra hoops to make sure that they're going to be able to use the program and have their expectations on, when they'd be able to buy the house back and that type of thing.
Okay, keep going here. So is Boost limited to borrowers using Movement? I love these guys, but sometimes buyers insist on their own lender. So as Ribbon stands, guys, remember, we've always taken an open cash platform, right? The differentiation for us is we want consumers to choose their best real estate agent, right? We don't limit them to having to utilize you as the agent. Same on the lending side. I can say, just working with John and Christina, though, that it is really important that your loan officer and their lender really goes under the hood with this program to ensure we're setting them up for success. But we've always remained and have been really an open cash platform for consumers to have that ability to move forward. And then, is there a Ribbon app? There is. So if you go to the App Store, there is a Ribbon app that you can download. A lot of that is primarily for the offer creation to get the addendum, the proof of funds, and cover letter. Today, we're still working on our mobile experience when you're adding buyers and uploading pre-approval letters. So I would still recommend you go to either Safari or Chrome, ribbonhome.com. You can still have a great experience from your mobile device, adding buyers, uploading approval letters, and adding properties. The app is in progress right now to be able to support like pre-approvals being uploaded. So you'd be better off in Chrome or Safari today and getting a deal situation off the ground. The offer itself could be done from the app, but adding buyers and getting the process started cannot today. Great question.
And can I go back to that prior question about if somebody wants to use a different lender?
Absolutely.
We will compete for their business. Oftentimes it's a money thing or a rate thing. And if we're a better deal than the other lender, unless it's like their mother, sister, brother, father, we can't compete with blood, but we can compete with money if it's a money thing. So oftentimes, if I can go back to my management and say, hey, this is a prior relationship that I have with a real estate agent, and the buyer's got a relationship with their lender, can we beat their deal? My management will let me do that just to keep your life a lot simpler and give them a chance to try something that, I think our level of service is gonna be better. I don't know many other lenders. There are some really good ones out there, but we, with the level of support that we have from our company and our own internal team, we can really make that loan sing and dance for you and not have you worrying about this outside lender is screwing up my perfect real estate transaction. And you guys, we get those phone calls almost every day. It's not every day, but it's multiple times a week where the other lender didn't order the appraisal on time. They calculated the cash to close wrong. Their appraiser did a bad job. And it's just on and on and on and on. And we have vetted out our entire process to make sure that you get a very predictable outcome. And so, you have that going for you, as well as, the benefit of, we'll be as competitive as we need to be to get that deal done.
Awesome, John. Christy, I'm not seeing anything else in the chat unless we have any other questions in the room. Happy to help get those to you guys. Also want to be respectful of time.
I think we're good. I think we're good at questions on this end. But yeah, I appreciate, John, what you're saying. I guess you're saying if you just give us a chance to quote and give us a chance to help your buyer, we'd love to serve them. We love our Maximum One family. How long we've been with Maximum One, John? It's been years. Oh gosh. Do you even remember?
Yes. We're going on our 11th year, I believe.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, really thankful.
Good stuff. Christy and John, I just want to say thank you for having me in today. I really appreciate it. Nice to meet the Maximum team today. Really excited to help you guys together. Let's go help more clients achieve homeownership. That's what wakes us up in the morning. If you need anything else, don't hesitate to reach out. Excited to build a relationship with you all and for you guys to meet our team. So thank you.
Ryan, thank you for your expertise. We really appreciate it. Agents, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to us or Ryan, but do take advantage of that link that he sent you and go ahead and make a profile. The best time to do it is now, while you've got it fresh in your mind. Set up your agent profile, kind of walk yourself through the system, because you never know when your next buyer is going to call you and say, hey, I found a house. And you're like, did you apply for a loan yet? So it's better to let's help them by being more prepared and be ready for them, because they will come once we're prepared. Awesome. All right. Dana, did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
Dana here? Nope, Dana's not
Nope.
here. She's,
Okay.
yeah. She's,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. Very good. Well, it's a great seeing everybody. You all have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Take care.
All right.
Thank you.